Oh my God. It is me.
Yeah, it is.
Hey guys, welcome to Cigar Box Nation and Cigar Box TV.
They can't hear you.
Can't hear me. I'm doing sign language.
It's the Gitty Gang Show on Cigar Box Nation TV. It's the Gitty Gang Show on Cigar Box Nation TV. And we're coming to you live from CB Getty.
I warned them. I said there'd be shenanigans.
Awesome.
It's the Gitty Gang Show.
Gitty Gang Show.
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 It's the Gitty Gang Show on Cigar Box Nation TV.
Welcome back. Welcome back to Cigar Box Nation TV. This is the Gitty Gang Show live Friday, July 11th. 12th. Welcome back to all that's smooth and no problems, no hiccups, no nothing but good times, shenanigans, hijinks. My name is Glenn Watt. I'm glad that you're joining us. Off screen is not Nick, because Nick is on a well-deserved vacation right now. Hope that he is enjoying the pants off of his camping trip. But off screen, instead of Nick, we do have Ben Giddy Baker, who will be joining me quickly or soon on the stage after we get some things situated. I do want to say hello.
It's a goat show, folks.
It's the greatest of all time show.
It's a goat show.
But here we have, let's see, like, who do we got out there today? I'm using a phone because our tablet doesn't work, or at least I don't know how to run it. Ben's having trouble on the computer.
Everything's fine.
It's all good.
There's
Adam
no
Jellison, it
trouble.
is good to see you. Tim Henderson, Mark Madding, Craig Belair, Cigar Box Nation, that's got to be Shane. It's good to see you. Louis LaManna, Wayne Anderson, my man Rusty Taylor. Who else? Jimbo, Roll Tide, Jim Burt, Bob Goss, William H. Sneed. There's a couple of names I haven't seen before, so I'm glad to see them today. Manitoba Hal Broland from all the way up in Canada, kicking tail like he always does. Shaq Collins from Shacksonville. Rob Roble from down in the most humid, swampy land in the air in the whole wide world, Florida. Tom Schaefer, Vasilios Vasilios. It's good to see you. Fun Guy Mojo. Look who we have.
Forgot to put my long slacks on. So let's keep these pasty white knees out of shot.
And Farley Andreessen.
Farley, Zoli Viva Nova in the
Jason Gleason, Ken
the
Dennison,
virtual-
Ron Lutz. I think I nailed all of you who have names out there and have commented. And if you wouldn't mind, actually today, just for giggles, we haven't done this in a really long time. That's
I'll go
fine.
ahead and turn
Thank
your
you.
volume down for you there, G-Go.
Thanks. Just, if you don't mind, just quickly just saying hello. Just comment hello so we actually see that you're out there. That'd be really great to see.
And if you could, nothing heavy, just as a courtesy, throw us a, you're doing great, guys. It's okay, you're doing great.
No, really, you're doing great.
Seriously. All right, so we have, did you already mention that our Nick is off in the wet and wild woods of New Hampshire, somewhere, camping for the weekend? I told myself, I remember how to run the thing over there, mash the buttons, hit the things, bippity boppity. Whew, boy, it's got a little more complex than when I last did it.
Hey, it's good to be here now.
It is. So, we of course have Watt Corner for you today. We have a video from our good buddy and regular appearer on the show, Mr. Jim Morris, showing off yet another new creation.
Yes.
I believe.
It's part of the whole Watt Corner theme-ish.
All right, well, I'm not going to get into it too much then. We've got a couple of different things, a question, not really question and answer, but we're going to be talking about a support question that came into us recently about pickups, bad pickups, and what can be done thereabouts. Also going to, thank you, Bob. See, Bob says we're doing all right.
Hey,
Gonna
thanks,
briefly share with you a tip or a trick, as it were, about tab conversion based on a question that came in recently from another customer and longtime Gitty friend. So, and some other stuff. Gonna do a song, show off a new songbook that is nearing completion. All sorts of good stuff.
I dig it.
Yeah, why not? Well,
All right.
Here we are. Welcome back to the Gitty Gang.
Grab a guitar. They like hearing you
What do
play.
we got? What do we
Well,
got? Well, I just want to say I have been doing a lot of playing recently, specifically on 6-string. My 6-string cigar box, not even cigar box, Frankenstein time clock guitar back here, because I've been putting some of the final touches, this is just the draft cover, on what I am titling the Celtic Sessions Strummer's Songbook. As you know, I've been doing a lot of 3-string cigar box guitar tablature for the Irish and Celtic song, you know, the Scottish songs and all of that. Well, this book is specifically for people who either want to sit at home and strum, front porch, back porch, campfire, or to get out to maybe a local jam session or something and play some of these Irish songs. Now, this is for people who might already know a few chords on a 6-string guitar, conventional 6-string guitar. And here's the format. I'm going to just bring it up because we don't have fancy wizardry today.
Don't need it. Not today. Ooh.
So as you can see, this one is just...
Can you show them one more? Here, go ahead. I was just
Oh, you go show them and I'll talk because the mic's kind of aimed this way. Just lyrics and chords. Chord indicators with the lyrics, all of the, you know, the primary verse, the chorus, and then additional verses, because this is the information you need and want if you're sitting at a table at a jam session. This is what you need. You don't really need tablature. You don't need conventional musical notation because you're not picking the melody. You're strumming the chords. You're playing rhythm, and this gives you that. Now.
That's your point. I think that you're trying to make that I keep interrupting about, but I think that's very important. Is that you just see the words and the chords. Like, I don't know how to impress that upon somebody how important that is. Like, you don't have to fumble through notation and whatnot.
Right.
It's just you know, you see the C above the word dog, and so then you play the C then, and like it makes sitting down in a group of people, like Ben's already been trying to say, and I'm messing up, but it makes sitting down in a group of people playing guitar with or instruments with them much easier having this type of setup.
Well, I've been playing in just that sort of session for quite a few years now. Started at Dante's local Italian restaurant where this fine young man was busily employed behind the bar mixing up and pouring drinks for us. And we were out there strumming along. And so I sat down to start this project thinking, what do I want? What would I want? What have I wanted to have in front of me? Because as you probably know, you can go online. There's a host of sites, a couple of primary ones. If you search for the Moonshiner chords, boom, you have some. You click on one, and here are the words and the chords. Now, what I had found and still find, because I referred to some of those for some of these songs, often the chord names are in the wrong place, like they're not over the correct word, or you're playing it and it's like, that doesn't sound right, you know, because those are just some other person's interpretation of how they think in their head the song goes, right? So I was like, I want all of the information here in one place. The chord forms, in case I'm not exactly sure. Also, a couple of extras, all right? I'm going to come close again and show you one of the little top secret additions.
Yes.
Right up here. See that?
Describe, please.
I give each song in 2 different key layouts. The key of C and the key of G. And each one is across the 2-page spread. So you get all of the lyrics. Sometimes one song takes up 2 pages for a single key if there's a lot of words. But you get everything you need without having to turn pages. That little chart that I showed you tells you what key you are effectively in if you put a capo on. So if you're playing these G form chords for the Leaving of Liverpool and you capo at the 2nd fret, this tells you that you're actually in the key of A. Very useful information if you're playing with other people. Say you're at an Irish session and you got a tin whistle player there, and you slap your capo on, you're ready to go, because you found that you sing it best when it's capoed at the 2nd fret, and the whistle player says, so what key are we in? A lot of people will be like, I don't know, I'm capoed in the second fret and it's the G4 and blah, blah, blah. This tells you, and you can actually, I designed this so that when you find your favorite place to sing a song, just circle it. That way, when you turn to the Leaving Liverpool, you know you do it in A.
Love it.
The reason I give each song in 2 keys, which effectively doubled the size of the book, is because you might find you can only capo so far up a 6-string neck until it starts sounding weird. My personal limit is around the 5th fret. If you're capoing above the 5th, it just sounds, so high pitch. It just, my rule is capo as low as you can on the neck to where you can get to where you can sing it well. And so having each song in 2 different key chord layouts, you might find that for one song the key of D is where you want to play it. So using the C form up 2, capoed on the 2nd fret, it makes it as versatile as possible without having to have different books. Like, oh, I need my G book for that or my C book for that. It's all in one book.
Yes.
Someone asked how many songs? 170. 170 songs of the traditional Irish, Scottish, a few English songs that have kind of been sung by Irish performers over the years, sea shanties, all sorts of good stuff like that. So, yeah, still got some work. I'm now going back through, carefully proofreading each song, each page, playing through each song start to finish. Glenn heard a little bit of that earlier, to make sure it sounds like I think it should sound.
I love it.
Now, I'm going to play one of these songs that are in this book in just a moment, but I just want to say that with any such book, and it's just over 400 pages, it's like 410 pages. Oh, one other thing, just to keep babbling on, something that I've never seen before, that I just finished yesterday, is there's like 10 pages at the back.
This is genius. I haven't seen this.
So, first lines and
That's smart.
alternate titles index. So maybe there's a song and you can only remember the first line of the chorus. First line of the chorus. So, fare thee well, my own true love. What the heck is the name of that song? With this index, you can come in here, you find so, fare thee well. Oh, turns out that's the first line of the chorus of The Leaving of Liverpool. Key phrases, phrases that tend to stick in the mind, alternate titles, first lines of verse, first lines of chorus, like all of that is here in this cross-reference index to help you find stuff. I've got a couple of pages on about capoing and capo conversions in the front, how to transpose to the key of D. So anyway,
That's genius.
somebody noticed we got our little fuzzy friend back here. He's been pretty quiet and sedentary lately. So, I finished, it's not completely done yet, but I finished the primary work on this yesterday, July 11th, 2019, which is a day that will always live in my memory and in the memory of a number of other people here in the Dover, New Hampshire area, because it is the day that local legend, my good friend Charlie Boyle, proprietor of Charlie Boyle's Greenhouse, that you've heard of us talk of a number of times. My friend Charlie passed away yesterday morning after a fight with cancer and other illnesses, and we went down, a bunch of us just kind of spontaneously showed up at the Greenhouse yesterday afternoon into the evening, playing songs, singing, telling stories, joking, crying, laughing, and just having a good old Irish, not even the true Irish wake yet, that's still to come. This was like the pre-Irish wake. But by God, we had a good time. And for me, this book is dedicated, right on the inside cover is dedicated to Mr. Charlie Boyle, from whom I learned a few of the songs in this book. And certainly have made a lot of great friends down there at the Greenhouse. If you watched this year's St. Patrick's Day broadcast, of course, we had a whole crew up on stage most of those people, actually everybody who was on stage that day, with the exception perhaps of Nick, is a longtime Greenhouse regular. Most of them related to Charlie directly. I certainly am not related. I'm an honorary inductee of several Dover Irish families, but no direct relation. But we shared a couple of clips from the Greenhouse, St. Patrick's Day and other gatherings in the past of Charlie himself singing. I think we got to turn the AC back on, Glenn.
Yeah.
Glenn was worried about the sound, but boy, it's getting swampy in here quick, folks. I ain't gonna lie. So I'm gonna sing and play a song. There was a favorite, absolute favorite of Charlie Boyle's. Actually, there's a famous story of Charlie and his brother Patrick, who was on stage here for the last 2 St. Patrick's Days. Patrick plays the bagpipes in addition to singing and playing various other things, and is often asked to play at funerals in the area. To, play Amazing Grace and other tunes on the bagpipes, the full-size bagpipes. Well, there was a funeral for the father of a good friend of theirs, Harold Preston, and so Patrick's there piping, and they're finishing up, and Charlie launches into this particular song, which is one of the best examples of the Irish people's general approach to death and the topic of death. They tend to take a light-hearted approach to it, humor-filled approach, and this song kind of summarizes that. And as the story goes, Charlie sang it in full voice, graveside at Harold Preston's funeral, and when they were done, they got a standing ovation from everybody but one in attendance. And then the priest who was officiating asked him if they were free that afternoon because he had another funeral to do down in Plastow, and could they come along and sing there. So, well, look at the coffin with golden handles. Isn't it grand, boys, to be bloody well dead? Let's not have a sniffle, let's have a bloody good cry, and always remember the longer you live, the sooner you bloody well die. Well, look at the flowers, all bloody withered. Isn't it grand, boys, be bloody well dead? Let's not have a sniffle, let's have a bloody good cry, and always remember the longer you live, the sooner you bloody well die. And look at the mourners, bloody great hypocrites. Isn't it grand, boys, be bloody well dead? Let's not have a sniffle, let's have a bloody good cry, and always remember the longer you live, the sooner you bloody well die. And look at the preacher, bloody sanctimonious. Isn't it grand, boys, be bloody well dead? Let's not have a sniffle, let's have a bloody good cry, and always remember the longer you live, the sooner you bloody well die. And look at the grave digger, bloody deep fellow. Isn't it grand, boys, be bloody well dead? Let's not have a sniffle, let's have a bloody good cry, right, last verse and the most important. And look at the widow, bloody great female. Isn't it grand, boys? Everybody well dead. Let's not have a sniffle. Let's have a bloody good cry. And always remember, the longer you live, the sooner you bloody well die. Alright, there's a little touch of the Irish for you in honor of Charlie Boyle, who will never be forgotten amongst those of us who were honored to know him. So, that is in the Celtic Session Strummers Songbook under Isn't It Grand, Boys? Of course, another name for it is Look at the Coffin, which, if you know that name, you could look up in the index. So, enough about that. Get Glenn Watt back up here on stage. Actually, we got a video now for you from Jim Morris, and because our producer Nick isn't here, I get to stand up, run over there, and mash the button. I'm going to try to get all the audio and stuff right, too.
Sweet. It's going to be good.
We'll see how that goes.
It's going to be good.
All right, we'll be back with you after Jim.
I'm going to keep talking about Jim, actually.
We're going to go right into Watt Corner, so I can mash all the buttons at once.
Sweet.
All right.
Hey, Jim, I see you're out there. Thank you for joining us thank you for joining us. I actually sent you an email earlier today. Not that I'm not with no expectations attached to it. To ask if I could play this video of you playing this Gourd strummer. I didn't hear back, so we kind of moved forward with assuming that we could play it. Now would be the time to say absolutely not, gentlemen.
You want to forbid it now. Yeah. Speak now or forever hold your peace.
Yeah, so hopefully you don't mind.
We knew he wouldn't mind.
Yeah, I figured he wouldn't mind. And frankly, the problem with video files is that we need people to send us the file. We can't just take a link and plug it in someplace. We actually need the file that you recorded with your camera or whatever you could record with. I found the way, or a way, that one can take videos off of Facebook and play them. So they result in some less than optimal resolution.
It's going to be great.
But it's still a really cool video because it's Jim Morris, and that's good enough for me. So.
All right, here we go. Enough talking out of you, Watt.
I know, always so much. Awesome. And thank you, Jim, for your permission that we kindly appreciate.
Slightly delayed.
So, yeah. But I got to admit that Martin Shoot, I agree with you that it does have a nice sound on that Gourd strummer. I'm not going to continue talking.
You just keep talking.
It looked better
Doing
with the
good.
other guy on there.
There we are.
Oh, no, the same guy. All right, so this is Walk Corner, and I know Ben's setting things up now. I just want to say thank you for joining us for Walk Corner. This particular corner is, and by the way, also thank you, Martin Shoot, for joining us, and Kurt Gardner all the way from Las Vegas. I saw J-Dub was out there, if she still is. J-Dub! Vern, good to see you, brother. We got your video. I would like to say that we don't have the capacity between the two of us, Ben and I, to get it going this week, but next week we'll see you up there. So thank you very much. We love seeing what it is that you contribute.
We are both low-functioning adults.
Oh, at best. At best. Bruce Norton, great to see you. And I saw some kind comments out there also about Ben's song choice, about the loss of his friend, about Ben's performance of that song. Mike Mayer, in particular, thank you very much for your kind words. It's good to see you again, and it's always good to see you when we do. So thank you very much for your condolences. Tom Petrie, Massimo's out there. Everybody's out there, so it's good to see every single one of you.
Ready to go.
Ready to go. All right, so this Walk Corner is inspired by a couple different things, but that Gourd guitar is one of them, but I'm going to get to the Gourd guitar in a second. What you see here first is was in this week's CB Gitty newsletter. If you don't get it, why not? Please consider subscribing. We're doing our best to inform, educate, entertain, inspire you through that newsletter. So, and sometimes sell things because it is a newsletter, but often what we're really trying to do is educate, inform, and inspire. So hopefully you find something good in it this week. This is one of those things. This is built by our friend Alex L. for his son. Now, Alex, we have 4 pictures that Ben is free to scroll through at his leisure. Alex writes about this. Last year, my son and I went to a Cub Scouts weekend trip. On the last day, Alex's son, pulled this piece of driftwood out of the lake, as well as a few rocks for skipping. Alex kept the wood and the rocks and made this diddly bow to remember the good times, using Shane Spiel Economy tuner and a little recessed jack plate that you see there from CB Gitty as well. What really, and why I'm so enamored with this is not just the rustic, the raw and rough nature of using a piece of driftwood and a couple of rocks, one as a nut and one as a bridge, which I haven't seen before. But really, it comes down to just celebrating that time that you've had with a child, your child. And I mean, I'm not going to experience that, not being a father, and I've said that before, but I really look at those of you who do have kids of your own, or nephews and nieces, or however it is that you can connect with the younger folk, and having these sorts of experiences with them. And that, Alex, you did, and were kind enough to share it with us, is heartwarming. And I'm honored that we got to share it in the CB Gitty newsletter. And Alex actually originally shared these pictures in his story in the Friends of CB Gitty Facebook group, in which if you receive the newsletter, you know that's in there. There's a link to join the group in there. There's a Friends of CB Gitty Facebook group. It's a public group. You're welcome to go check it out without even joining. You can go right in there and see what's up. And it's a kind collection of nice people with thoughtful things to contribute. Huge conversations, not just, hey, look at my stuff. You know, it's people actually interacting and helping one another, and I'm really happy as well. This is my own subjective thing. I'm really happy to see a lot of ladies in there as well. I think having that perspective in the community is critical to development and learning and growth. And so I'm happy to see those ladies out there. So thank you very much for checking that out. Now, speaking of Gourd guitars, which is what Jim was playing, a Gourd strummer, if you will, that has been a thing in and around the community for a long time. But our friend Burton Philbrick from up in Maine actually had some Gourd guitars that he was sharing in the Friends of Gitty group. Our friend Sue M was sharing her own Gourd guitars. Jim Burt just playing his. And here is our good friend Marty T. Marty Tauber, also from Maine, who you must know as the fine winder of Wicked Bucker pickups. This is Martin's Gourd guitar. Of it, he writes, "Just finished my first Gourd build, a true homemade instrument. Leftover metal, leftover acid wash metal for the soundboard. If you're wondering, it's leftover metal, acid wash metal for the soundboard. Reclaimed pallet wood for the neck. The Gourd he grew in his own garden, and has CB Gitty frets, skull tuners, string holders, rod piezo, and jack. Awesome. Thank you very much for the support, Marty. I think that's awesome stuff. And if you're wondering out there, some of you may go, oh, what's the scale length on that? It is 22 inches, and it's tuned DAD. Now, I saw that Martin earlier, about a few minutes ago, before I began my long-winded talk as usual, offered to let us play his performance of this Gourd build, which I actually have on my computer, Marty. I thought about contacting you, but I figured I'd let it live for the week and see how you feel. But he was kind enough to let us play it, and hopefully we can get that on soon as well. But that is a beautiful Gourd, by the way. It's gorgeous, and you made a beautiful instrument with it. So thank you very much, Martin Tauber, for checking that out and for sending that to us so we can all check it out. Because next up we do have, also from the Friends of Gitty group, Sue M. with her Gourd guitar. Now, Sue M writes, here's one that I made from a Gourd. It's tuned and fretted like a dulcimer. The melody string is doubled up, the others are single strings. Now, Sue also goes on to write that the sound hole is covered by a rosette, which is a beautiful thing. You can't really see it in those pictures on your mobile device, but if you're on a desktop, you might be able to. That rosette actually hides the neck-through design, the stick that runs through the body. She writes that these are fun to make, but it's always an adventure fitting the neck and soundboard to the top of the Gourd. So if you can imagine, you have a Gourd, you got to cut it in half somehow and sand those edges flat so that you can fit a soundboard on and get a neck through it. And that's an interesting point that she raises. And to add more difficulty to it, no two Gourds are alike, of course. The top on hers is Baltic birch plywood, which makes for a good music wood. It's an 1/8 inch thick and can be found in many places. She goes on to basically say that in the Friends of CB Gitty Facebook group, there are several members who've shared their Gourd instruments with her. There are a lot of creative and talented people in that group, she writes, who make Gourd guitars, and they have all had quite an exchange of pictures and advice this past week on how to make these. She's gotten great ideas from members, and the Friends of Gitty Facebook group is a great place to exchange ideas and show each other our instruments, end quote. Thank you, Sue. I think Sue is out there sometimes watching the show, maybe not live, but sometimes after the fact. And I really enjoy the fact, again, that we have such thoughtful, kind females, ladies out there in our group. Alyssa, I'm looking at you as well. I believe Alyssa's out there trying to maybe even work on her own Gourd build at home, and she's strongly influenced by a good man, Randy Brett's out in Pennsylvania. Here I am just name dropping people from the CBG community, but it's important because they're really good folk out there. Now, last up, but certainly my good man, Rusty Taylor. Also, Rusty, I really want to, Rusty, I'm sorry to drop this on you, like all surprised, like, but Rusty, I wanted to share this. Rusty has I'm sure if you find Rusty Taylor on Facebook, if you're not already friends with him, you can find him in a group. Certainly, I hope you'll feel free to find him in the Friends of Gitty Facebook group, because that's where I found this. Rusty writes, I'm putting these 3 guitars up for sale to help pay for the performers this year. And what he means by for the performers this year is the Georgia International Cigar Box Guitar Festival on September 28th, 2019, that Rusty goes and puts that festival on his back and organizes the whole thing. Now, he's building his own guitars and selling them so that he can pay for performers to be there. That's just, that's good stuff, Rusty. He writes, money is always tight for the Georgia Fest, but you would help keep this fest going by getting one of these guitars. $225 shipped to your door. $225 for a handmade guitar by Rusty Taylor with his own. He makes those bridges. He makes those knobs. He machines those things. Those are Wicked Bucker pickups from our good man Marty Tauber. And just the other week, it's right around here somewhere. Just the other week, we were playing a Rusty Taylor guitar that he shared with the Gitty Gang with us up here at CBD. These things are amazing instruments. I know this because I've played one.
I believe only 2 of these guitars remain. One has already sold.
Oh, yes. As it turns out, all proceeds
you already got that?
No, not yet. I got a line on. All proceeds go to pay the musicians at the Georgia Fest. As of about 1 p.m. today, one sold to Mark M. So thank you very much, Mark, for not only supporting the festival, but for just being an awesome Cigar Box Guitar community member. So thank you. And really, that's been a long-winded, I know you didn't get a lot aside from me talking, but that's been Walk Corner. So thank you very much. And
how do I switch this back?
I don't know, but I'm gonna.
Nope, I didn't do it.
Wait, hold on. See, this is. I'm trying real hard. I'm trying. And the amp takes a second to warm up, and then. There. Hey. All right.
I might need to bring the audio back down.
Yeah. So, Rusty's not only a serious builder, says Janice Wilson Hughes, but he's done a lot to bring many of us Cigar Box folks together. Glad to have Rusty as a personal friend. That's awesome, J-Dub. All right, thank you for coming back. Good to see you out there, Peggy Tramble. All right, rock on.
All right, because I know how much you love it when we just sit here and talk for extended periods, we're going to do that now. About a question that was recently sent in by a customer asking about some bad pickups. He got a batch of 10 of the covered 4-pole, they're actually base pickups. The black covered ones are, you know, they sell them for $5.99, so they're certainly inexpensive. And, oh yeah, there's one. We include a pre-wired harness in the G-base kit with them. So Andy wrote, hey, I got 10 of these back in June, and so far he's had trouble with 4 of them. Built guitars with them, sent the guitars out, customers say, hey, the pickup's not working. And he asked, do you have any suggestions or ideas of what could be going on? So Glenn and I just kind of sat down and talked about that a little bit to talk about that. Because it is, we know, anyone who sells things to people knows, hearing back from a customer that something has stopped working is bad. Yeah. Nobody likes it. That's one of the worst things that you can have happen as a crafter and a seller of goods. So how do we get through that frustration? I wanted to first talk about how can a pickup fail, specifically this kind of pickup. If you've ever used one, you know that it's sealed up pretty tight. You know, it's potted. The wire comes out, it's kind of a solid, enclosed, encased thing without a lot of moving parts. Inside it, outside it, it's pretty much, it's like mounting a little brick to your guitar that has a wire coming out of it. So what could go wrong? The answer is that we use a lot of these in-house. Glenn specifically wires the harnesses that go with these G-base kits. We don't farm that out to China. We don't farm it out anywhere. We do that in-house. So Glenn directly has experience with a lot of these pickups. And I asked him when I was looking into this, like, have you been noticing any problems with them? And he's like, well, no, not really. They're pretty solid. So what could go wrong with these pickups? And unfortunately the answer usually is how they're wired up, how you choose to connect them to pots, tone pot, volume pot, output jack. It's in that wiring, in those connections, that the problems usually arise. Now, it is possible for a pickup to just be bad. We do our best to check them when we get them in. However, they are very inexpensive pickups. $6 for an electric guitar pickup, that's pretty cheap. You know, that definitely qualifies as economy grade.
Right.
Like the most economical of the economy grade of parts you can get. So you always have to keep that in mind, making the choice to buy the cheapest, you know, the most economical parts and put them in a build that you intend to sell to another person. You know, you got to have that in mind, that sometimes these low-end parts will have issues. Now, at CV Gitty, of course, we stand by what we sell. If something goes bad, we send replacements. Unfortunately, in this situation, once you've already sold it to a customer and now they're complaining to you, us sending you a free replacement only goes so far, because now you got to get the guitar back, take it back apart, put the new pickup in, put it back together, get it to the customer. It's not great for anybody involved.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and that's, go ahead.
No, I was
But now
breaking for you to talk.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is like we sell a lot of our pickups as pickups that you can wire,
Right.
and pickups that we wire. And so, you know, we test all of our pre-wired harnesses. So all the harnesses that we wire here in house get tested before we wrap them up and then ship them to you. The other pickups, they don't
We
all
spot check them
spot
to
check,
make sure,
right.
you know, that, okay, this seems like a good
This
batch
batch,
is
right.
good, but we don't individually check every single pickup, because if we did, the price would have to be higher. You know, people here that employed by CB Gitty, I believe in paying people as well as I can, and with benefits and time, you know, paid
Right.
time off, all that stuff.
Yeah.
That is an expense, and
Yes.
the more that people's time goes into something, the more I have to charge for that something. You know, that's one of the trade-offs. I didn't mean to veer into.
No, it's kind of about supporting your American economy, but that's another story. But
You know,
we are supporting the
I
people.
could farm this out to China and
Right.
get it for pennies on the dollar,
Right.
and, you know, farm it, you know, sell it cheap, cut rate, you know, undercut everybody else, and just throw every idea overseas. But I don't believe in that. Nobody here at CB Gitty believes in that. It's the harder route by far to try to keep things here, pay people, you know, a good fair living wage to do the work. That's the harder route, and there are days and nights of mental anguish and torment trying to figure out how are we gonna keep all this going, you know, because it isn't getting any easier. And you hear people love to talk, especially on the internet. Talk's easy. Buy American, support local business, small business, buy American. And then they run out, well, it's cheaper from China, so I'm going to go ahead and do that because, you know, it's just trying to get a good deal, right? Yeah, well, it's a lot harder to put your money where your mouth is. That's why we appreciate folks like you so much, friends of CB Gitty Group, Gitty Gang fans. What's the new term that Jim Burt suggested?
Gitty Gangstas.
Gitty Gangsters. Got to get a shirt made up.
I think
for
that was coined by Del Puckett.
Del
but-
Puckett!
Yes.
Oh!
Right.
Well, I bet Jim will like it.
Yes.
So anyway, I didn't mean to veer into preaching
Nope.
there too much, but we so very much appreciate
Yes.
you, our friends, folks that believe in what we do enough to pay a little bit more. That don't go the cut rate bottom dollar route. I've long said there's no winning a race to the bottom, so
Right.
I'm not even going to try to race to the bottom. So we appreciate it.
I know we got to get back to
What
pickups.
the hell were we talking about
But I
before
will
all
say also thank you very much because this is all I've got. You know, I'm not sailing off into retirement and this is my hobby. This is how I make a living so that Farley and I can have a place, a roof over our heads.
And it's all I got.
Right.
You know,
we're not at the end of our careers. We're trying to get.
I don't have a high-paying day job that I do this out of my garage for
Right.
fun at night. It started off more like that, and then I realized, no, this is everything. I want to do this and just this. So everyone here is kind of in that boat, and if you happen to meet one of us sometime and you're showing off guitars covered with competitors' parts, and you say, you don't mind that, you know, there's competition out there now, right? It can be a little more difficult to be objective. Of course, there's always been competition, there always will be. But yeah, it hurts.
It hurts.
I ain't gonna lie. Personally, it hurts. But by God,
Keep at it.
keeping at it.
Keeping at it.
So about these pickups.
Yeah. Sorry.
Woo! All right, veered off topic there.
Yeah. So what could happen with a pickup before you put it into a build? What could make it fail?
The wires in there could be overstressed or were never connected all that well to begin with, where the main lead goes up into the body of the pickup. At some point in there, it connects to the very tiny wires that are part of the coil winding. If you give it a good yank or something happens to it, that could be loosened or broken and cause problems. If it's broken, of course, the pickup will be dead. It will get no sound at all. If something's loosed or stretched, or it could cut in and out. It could be intermittent. Which brings us to, Jim Bird asks, are these pickups made in the USA? They are not, Jim. If you find a $5.99 pickup
Right.
made in the USA, then the person making them is insane.
Yeah. We do wind our own pickups here being the Hobo line of pickups,
Yep.
and we do have Marty Tolliver's pickups,
Marty T.
which are wound right up the street a few miles north in Maine. So we do have an extensive line of American-made pickups for sure.
Absolutely.
You got to pay for it. I'm sorry to say.
Yeah, they cost more because it's people don't work for free, nor should they. So the key thing to do before you install a pickup into, or even wire a harness, pickups have leads that come off. Get yourself a couple of alligator clips, which are spring clips on wires. You can wire those other ends of those leads or clip them onto a jack, your regular mono output jack. You hook those up to your pickup, you plug it into your amplifier, you hold it over the strings of a guitar, and you give them a strum. That is the most basic way to say, does the pickup work? Is this pickup good? Now you could gently apply a little pressure to the lead where it comes to the pickup and see, does it crackle? Does the sound cut out? Does something happen when the pickup is gently, you don't want to yank on it, but when it's gently manipulated, does something go wrong? If it does not, if that pickup continues to work as it should, you can be pretty darn sure you've got a good pickup. At that point, from there on, any problem is going to be the result of how it is connected, how it is wired. We have anything popping up there?
No questions in that, but none specifically about the what we're troubleshooting pickups per se, but a couple that we certainly have some support out there. So thank you. And Rob, even Rob Robles got his own. He's got American-made pickups in his build as well.
Yeah, I don't mind saying that on there. They make amazing pickups. Yeah. Like I see the stuff they make, and I'm like, man, that's a standard to strive for.
And
Wiggins brand pickups.
Yeah, Rob's guitars A, sound amazing. B, they're handmade in America. And C, he's not giving them away.
No, nor
all
should
that
he.
Stuff, right? Nor should he. Anyways.
So pre-test, what I call pre-test, is the pickup good? All right, yes. So now let's proceed with wiring our harness. Whether you're doing straight to jack, you're basically taking that lead that comes off the pickup, hot and ground to the hot and ground on the jack, no volume, no nothing, boom. You wire that, you do your soldering, test it again. Plug it back into that amp, hold it over the strings, boom, does it work? Okay, if yes, at that point, it's like not choose your own adventure book, but it's like if this, then that.
Right.
It's a logical series of steps.
Sure.
Now, if you're adding in a volume pot, a little more complex, more wiring, more solder joints that could potentially be cold solder joints, which means the solder didn't harden, solidify as slowly as it should, and it basically makes a solder joint that can break and come apart fairly easily. You see a lot of this on pre-wired harnesses straight from China. They move quick, they boom, 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 produce, blowing on that solder or how they're cooling it. You see a lot of cold solder joints. Probably the number one cause of a non-working pickup harness. So whatever you're doing, volume and tone, just volume straight to jack, once that's wired, you got it all put together, test it again. Test it with the volume all the way up. Test the range of volume. Test the range of tone. Make sure it's doing what you think it's supposed to do. Double check, test your solder joints. You should be able to give them a decent little tug. Tugging the leads attached to the pot lugs, the jack lugs. Everything should be good and tight. Nothing should have any movement in the actual solder joint. You don't want that.
Yeah. You're doing did a great job.
Rob is sharing a little bit more advanced method if you've got an ohm meter or a multimeter, which is a handy thing to have, I'd say. You can test your pickup with that, and it'll also, you put it on the resistance or the ohm measurement, usually on the 20,000, because there's usually a dial, and you can change what range you want to measure, 10,000, 20,000, because most guitar pickups are in the 1 to 10,000 ohm range, or 1 to 10 kilo ohm. So yes, checking the impedance or the resistance of the pickup is another good way to say, yes, this pickup is good, because what that tells you, if you get a reading within range, It tells you that the positive lead goes in, connects to the coil, the 6,000 winds around that bobbin to the ground wire lead and out. It shows you've got a complete circuit. So that's another good way to test.
Now, and I want to get to so Vasilios also asked a question about shielding. It's taking things a bit further. It's taking things a bit further, but sometimes there are people out there. John Nickel, for one, likes to wrap the interior of his cigar box, or at least the parts of it that the pickup are exposed to, in copper tape, and that helps to shield the pickup from electrical interference from outside the cigar box, thereby reducing or eliminating all buzz in general. But what we're talking about right now, so yes, one can do that. We don't here. I don't personally, but it does if you have the time, patience, and the care, and especially if you're selling your guitars and you want to get an extra level of craftsmanship in there, and then therefore some extra dollars, then yeah, I mean you could certainly shield the inside of your cigar boxes or any sort of instrument with tape.
Because if you do, you might not have to wire the ground lead to your hand.
But I like this.
He's gotten, at first he hated it, but now
I'm in love. So thank you very much. I think this has been really it's a good, helpful tip. But yes.
So testing, now when you get the harness, and maybe you did all the wiring with the bits mounted in your guitar body. Some people do that. Maybe you wired it all on the bench and then installed it. Either way, of course, you test it again before the box is all sealed up. If you're gluing your box shut or whatever, you test it all before you seal it. Because you won't have strings on it yet, you might have to hold another instrument over and strum the strings. But you want to make sure all of that is still working. Now, another thing, wires moving around inside the box over time can stress solder joints.
Yes.
If you are using solid core copper wire, over time, if that wire is attached to, let's say, the lug of a jack, and the rest of the wire is able to flop around out here, over time, it's going to break and come free. Stranded wire, much more resilient over time to that sort of movement-based stress breaking. So you test before you seal it, you test it again, you do your best to control. I use hot glue really to take the wire and just kind of stick it and keep it in place, or you can mount a little screw holder in there, just something so that you don't have wires flopping around, which can cause some other issues of noises in the box. If it's just in the wrong part touching something, you can get some buzzing, some vibrational buzzing. So control your wires, pre-test, post-test. Be sure of how you're wiring them up. Unfortunately, things can still go wrong. There can be flukes. You get it to the customer, especially if you ship it to them. Shipping can be a traumatic event for delicate wiring and such. Things can break. It happens. It's part of the game. We've been dealing with it here for 10 years, having to make it right when something like that goes wrong. The only other thing I'll say is, Rob can attest to this. Rob uses premium parts on premium guitars versus using economy parts on premium guitars. Upgrading the overall quality level of the parts you are using. At CB Gitty, we have a range of pickups. We've got some humbuckers that are like 50, 40, 50 bucks plus for two versus $6 for one. So upgrading that over time can have an effect too. So
if I can, Bill Nolan, thank you for joining us. Kathy Deenan, all the way over from
Kathy,
Dova.
Beautiful, the center of the universe.
That's
Dova,
right.
New Hampshire.
Good to see you, Kathy. I also want to say hello to Paul Robertson, who stated that it is tough to bring up this kind of conversation. The fact that you guys did it in this forum shows that you're stand-up guys.
Which pickups failing, or
I'm assuming the pickups failing, but it could be the America stuff too. But I think granted, since it was posted about a minute ago, I'm assuming it's about the pickup talk. And about that, if I may, this conversation is not about taking the responsibility off of us.
Oh no,
and putting it somewhere else. I'm gonna speak for us. I'm sorry. We take full respect. If there's a bad thing that leaves the door here, we want to hear about it, and we will make it right.
Always have.
Always have. And I've been working for Ben for over 7 years now, and that's the way it's always been. He's been at it even longer. It's always been about making it right for you. And I'm not selling you. I'm not pitching you a thing. That's the thing. Like, we want to do well by you and with you and for you. In addition to that, the conversation again isn't about taking responsibility off of us. It's about, however, if you get something, then just like Bill Nolan had mentioned, neatness counts. Just checking your work. Do your due diligence too.
Yeah, because it's easy to just say your thing didn't work.
Right.
Right. And well, okay, but we got to dig into that further, and it's not to deflect blame. Nope. It's like, what? Because if I got a bad batch of pickups in, you can bet I don't want to be shipping crap.
Right.
Because it just pisses people off. It's expensive. It's horrible. So I want to know as soon as possible if we've got bad parts. But if there's no other indication that the parts as a whole have been bad or having a high fail rate, then we got to dig a little deeper.
Right. That's all.
Yeah.
And Philip Cardwell, thank you very much for joining us, as well as Jed Treester, Eric Denton. That's my man down there over in Georgia. That's what we got. So thank you very much. And Mark Stanford, howdy to you as well. Thank you. What else we got, kid?
Well, that's all I got on bad pickups.
Hey,
I think we've exhausted that particular topic. One more thing that I wanted to share today, based on a question that was asked recently via the CB Gitty support channel. And to really display this or show it, I got to go grab one of those. Maybe could you grab any of the 3-string tab songbooks? The question was, it was more of a suggestion from a good customer, saying, "Boy, I sure wish you'd do more 4-string songbooks that could be used with the 4-string Tupelo tenor, mountain tenor." I was like, I hear you, I feel you, I want to do more 4-string songbooks, but here's the reality of it is I've got one 4-string songbook now that I did earlier this year, right? The 3-string songbooks outsell it probably 10 to 1. And not like all of the 3 strings combined compared to that, but like the volume 1 3-string compared to the volume 1 4-string, just there's almost no comparison. And that, from a business point of view, because as much as we try to come across as happy-go-lucky people, just having a good time, CB Gitty is a business, and payroll needs to be met, and the lights have to stay on, and equipment replaced. So I got to make business-based decisions, and devoting my limited time to making 4-string songbooks that won't sell all that good is difficult. I want to, I intend to, I got a lot of things I want to do first, is the basic gist. But all of that, just told you that story to tell you this one. The second part of his question is there a way to convert 3-string tab to 4-string? And the answer is yes. 3-string GDG to 4-string GDGB. That's what we're doing. Because like the Tupelo tenor, got one in here. This is a 4-string mountain tenor, GDGB. Basically, if you're looking at 3-string tab, you got the 3 lines, right? This represents the low G string, middle D, and then high G, right? 4-string tab will have a 4th line up here for that B string, which is on the bottom when you're playing. The high G or the high B are both on the bottom when you're playing. So if you've got 3-string tab, and it's a little hard to describe just with words, but I'm going to try. Basically, on what's the top line of the tab, which refers to the high G string, if the number indicated, which tells you what fret to hit, if it goes above 3, you subtract 4 and bump it up to the high G string. So if you've got a 4 on that, I'll just preview what I'm going to talk about next here. If you've got something that tells you to hit the 4th fret on that high G string, which is on the bottom when you're playing, that makes the same note as playing the high B string open on a 4-string. So if you see a 4, make it a 0 and bump it to the B string. If you see a 5, make it a 1 and bump it to the high B string. If you see a 12, make it an 8 and bump it to that high B string. Now, doing that on the fly while playing would take a good bit of practice. You know, it might not be entirely practical, but that is the way that subtract 4 and bump, it can be done. So, until such time as somebody makes Nick Malanciano out
Nick
there.
join us on his
Nick,
vacation.
I don't, boy, you should see the button mashing. Just like, you ever see a seal?
Oh, it was beautiful.
Yeah, all good, all good. Here we are. Audio's on, video is happening. Whew. All right, well, hope you're having a...
Nick, if you get a chance, just watch the beginning of the show later. It's
no, here's what you do.
the first 2 minutes.
Get off your phone and, like, go collect some ticks or something. Whatever it is you campers do, go do it, you know? Good Lord. Anyway, just kidding. Just joshing.
Could have used you, brother.
All right, so the final thing I want to talk about is this. You might have seen...
Yeah.
Where did I talk about this?
Last week. Or the week before. Week before, because she
Well,
had last week.
the week before I was over at the bench talking about version 1 of the prototype.
Sure.
And one of our viewers, I believe it was Tim Henderson, said, why don't you make the box bigger and have some sound holes? So take a look at this.
Yeah, buddy. Get some.
These here are, of course, sound holes cut in, the plate mounted on top. So thank you, Tim, for that. I think this idea is going to work. The sound hole shape may change a little bit. I want to thank our good buddy Burton Philbrick for giving me this Maine Lobster license plate up at the Maine Cigar Box Guitar Festival. He heard me mention that I wanted one, and then by God, there he was with 2 of them for me. So thank you, Bert. Now this is a 3-string. I'm still working on the right type of bridge assembly. Originally I was thinking acoustic electric, but it has such a good acoustic sound that I'm now leaning for this flavor of the kit to be fully acoustic, or maybe with an internal piezo option, but go fully acoustic with it in that reso, like a true resonator acoustic guitar, instead of trying to make it an electric guitar that is called a resonator. Maybe we can do another kit where it's just the license plate and it's more of an electric resonator, but it's got a little bit of vibrational issues because of this makeshift. I had to prop the bridge up and it's sitting funny, so it's vibrating a little bit. I don't know if she loved me, but I think her sister will. I say the Gitty Gang Show. Gitty Gang Show. It's the Gitty Gang Show. Gitty Gang Show. Say the Gitty Gang Show. How's the song go? The Gitty Gang Show. Oh, oh. Gitty Gang Show. It's the Gitty Gang Show on Starbucks Nation TV.
It, huh?
You got more?
Oh.
We're already over an hour in.
Alright.
I got nothing.
I just was quick.
I didn't think we had this much, to be honest. Said all you need is a sticker box and some strings. Maybe a license plate, I don't know. Said all you need is a sticker box and some strings. Well, you put them all together, you know they're gonna ring. I already did the call and response verse, folks.
Oh, you know what's coming up? Tomorrow is, or tonight, John Nichols performing at the Page in Huntsville, Alabama.
I think I've been
Huntsville, Alabama. Tomorrow we have Preston Lasers, CBG-minded Michiganders. Yeah, CBG club meeting at Blissfest in Harbor Springs, Michigan. And then next we have the York Cigar Box Guitar Festival in Pennsylvania. August.
Something very exciting being lined up for the York Festival. It's Jim Lewin, the organizer. It's gonna be cool. We can't announce it. Hopefully by next week we'll be able to announce it.
Oh, nice. All right, I can appreciate that. And then after that, before that, Ozark is August 3rd, Saturday. August
I cut
3rd.
that off the script. Sorry.
In Drake Harbor, Warsaw, Missouri. I can't do it at the same time. The Cigar Box Guitar Festival in Missouri, and then we got Ozark coming up, then we got York, Pennsylvania, and then September 28th, Rusty Taylor and his third annual International Cigar Box Guitar Festival down in Georgia. It's been a blast. Thank you very much for putting up with us.
Thanks for playing along. Tune in next week, folks. All new show. It'd be hard to repeat this, I ain't gonna lie.
Somebody's got to hit the button.
I'm gonna go hit the button. You guys have a good weekend.
Bye.
Hey, I forgot. Guess what? My dear beloved wife, for Father's Day, got me a present that is happening tomorrow and is gonna blow my mind. Up in Booth Bay, Maine, there's a antique railroad museum where they operate narrow gauge antique steam locomotives, and they have an engineer for a day program. Woo woo.
Yeah.
This guy.
That's awesome, man. All right, thank you very much for joining us, all of you.
I'll have my hobo fiddle with me, and pictures and videos will ensue. I'm
Nice.
sure.